How's it going, Laser Bruce's I'm Bobby Sixkilla and welcome back to Ever 17. I'm feeling like we must be getting close to an end here, to some kind of resolution, because we only got 2 days left to live, apparently. Anyway, carrying on. Huh, well, aren't you tough? I'm perfectly fine. But it still tastes terrible, right? Right? Tell the truth. I'm totally fine. Tastes kind of like pizza. What? What'd you say just now? What's it taste like? Pizza. Are you serious? Tsugumi nodded. Munch, munch. Hey, let me see that. That can't be. Takeshi went to grab the sandwich, but Tsugumi was too quick for him. Not only that, but Takeshi caught his foot and fell on the floor. In that instant, Tsugumi polished off the sandwich. Thanks for the sandwich. You made it specially for me, right? So, the event ended with Tsugumi turning the tables on Takeshi. As we knew it would, because Takeshi's an idiot. I ended up cleaning up the area afterwards. I separated the cans and sandwich wrappers and put them in the garbage bags. You and Sarah helped. Takeshi said he was going to start getting ready for lunch and headed to the kiosk. Gonna get ready for lunch? We just finished a meal. Sarah said she had something to do with some maintenance on their MMIH and left for the control room. Tsugumi disappeared to somewhere unknown. But something happened when I was picking up the garbage. Hello there. Huh? What's the matter? Nothing. Did somebody just call out? What? Nobody said anything. Really? Must be our imagination. I bet you're just trying to find a way to get out of helping. I'm not. It's not that at all. You're hearing your mystery voices again. Well, please don't do that again. Get a hold of yourself already. I know you're tired, but... We started picking up garbage again. We finally finished with the trash, folded the blanket, and we were done cleaning up. Now we'll just sweep the area. Mayor, you do me a favor and get me a broom and dustpan? I think they're at the kiosk. Roger that. Sarah set out for the kiosk. I was just thinking, this must be a nightmare for the people who clean this place. It would be if people had to do it. But MMIH usually uses a cleaning robot that automatically cleans the whole complex. Wow. Now, what with the accident and all, I imagine the robot is a rusted pile of junk metal at the bottom of the ocean right about now. I'll bet. Heave ho, heave ho. What? I was hearing voices again. Thinking about it, I guess that Lemur was just one massive pile of scrap metal. I suppose it's just a matter of how it's destroyed. What? What's the matter? You're not again. Oh, alright. You've done enough. Just go to the infirmary or somewhere and rest. You've got a serious condition or something. I was sure I'd heard something. This time I was sure it wasn't my imagination. I'm carving. Can't you see I'm carving? See, I really can hear something. I'm etching some marks into the stone. Stone statue? I looked around the 4 stone statues at the edge of the open area, and there, atop the pedestal of the stone statue was a girl. It's the girl again! She finally came back. She was standing there next to the figure as if clinging to the statue. Oh, it's that girl. It was the girl that I'd seen who had then vanished on the first. Look, you, right there. Huh? Look, over on that statue. What about the statue? Look, that stone statue, there's a girl there, see? I don't see anybody. Not there, over there. I'll forget it. I'll go call to her. Kid? I sprinted towards the stone statue. What could the girl be doing up there? Well, it's because I was feeling lonesome. Lonesome? And anyway, I was feeling sad. Sad? What is she talking about? And next, uh-oh. And then the girl lost her balance, falling from her awkward place on the pedestal. Look out! I ran toward her. The water caught on my feet and sprayed everywhere as I ran to where she was. Will I make it? I closed my eyes, mustered all of my power, and sprinted. I threw out my free left hand to catch her, where the girl would be falling to catch her. I didn't feel anything. I thought maybe I hadn't reached her in time. Scared, I opened my eyes. What? There was no one in my arms, or even around me. Only the water sloshing about gently around me. Hey, you alright? Looks like you took a pretty nasty spell. I looked above me. Of course, there was no statue on the pedestal supporting... There was no one on the pedestal supporting the statue. Sorry, I can't English today. Without saying anything, I got up and went behind the statue. There were scratches in the statue. There had been deep notches that looked like they'd been carved there by something hard and sharp. They were the shape of people. Really simple looking, like stick people. At each end of the stick was a little round face. There was 6 in all. Like the 6 of us. Looking closer, I saw that next to the people figures were 2 carvings of animals that I'd never seen. The tanukis? I looked up at the statue. The statue was pointing diagonal and up toward the east. Hey, what are you two doing? That's a good question. I ignored them and gently touched the carvings on the statue. Without thinking, I blurted out, "Watch your step, okay?" Okay? That time that answer could have been my imagination that time. We're losing it, man. After that, I decided to go to the infirmary and sleep. It wasn't that I was feeling ill. It was something I was not getting enough sleep. I wanted some quality rest. I slept so deeply I didn't even dream. When I awoke, it was already around evening. There was a memo by the bed. "You will be in the conference room until dinner. If you wake up by then, please come along. I'm sorry for making you hang out with me the last couple of days. Please make sure you get enough rest. Here." Judging from the signature, it seemed that you had left it. Yeah. I got out of bed, stretched and left the room. I started walking in the direction opposite of the conference room. I decided to take a walk around the complex for fun. I got into I thought that it might make for a good change of pace to walk around a floor that I hadn't spent much time on. That was my thinking. I got off the flooded 3rd floor. I wondered where I should go. I looked around thinking. It was then that it happened. I saw the girl again. Oh. I saw the small figure cutting across the corridor. I was sure of it. It was that girl. I chased after her. Her skirt shook back and forth as she walked further and further away. It was almost as if she was trying to get away from me. Hey, wait a minute. She may not have heard me, and she didn't show any sign of stopping. I wonder what it was all about. This girl that kept appearing out of nowhere and disappearing. This girl that didn't register on MMIH's bioscan. No, she had registered once. Life reading 7. But the more I thought about it, the stranger everything seemed. She only appeared in front of me and we hardly communicated. Well, I couldn't worry about it. I knew it wouldn't help. It was something that I could only solve by asking her directly. She headed to the Cosmic Whale Room. That's a fantastic name for a room. I followed in soon after her. The room was dimly lit. This is fantastic. This just reminds me of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. A massive whale floated like a majestic phantasm in the cosmic room. The girl was in the middle of the room. She was facing away from me, sitting and hugging her knees. I finally caught up. I approached her as I caught my breath. I heard singing. It sounded like phrases from a children's song. Moon sprite, shouldering a long bow, waiting inside a dream. I felt like I'd heard the lyrics somewhere before. Somewhere I was sure, in the distant, distant past. I was wondering if it was my missing memory that was making me feel that way. Hey, you! Her shoulders jumped with the shock and she stopped singing. Slowly she turned back to look at me. It was the girl after all. Why do you run away from me? Oh well, I guess it doesn't matter. It really did matter to me, but since I'd finally been able to confront the girl, I felt a surge of relief. Well, why don't we go where everyone else is? I held up my hand as I said this. Finally, she stood up and spoke. Brother? What? The girl just stared at my face. Let's go. I took her hand and tugged it as I began to walk. The inside of my mind was churning. It was because of what she just said. Inside of me, it felt like another me was screaming. That's how I felt. Oh shit. I found another girl. I burst into the conference room as I shouted this. Of course, I was still leading the girl by the hand. Everyone turned to look at me at once. Huh? Another what? Who are you talking about? Are you talking about that girl? Yeah, I found her in the Cosmic Well Room and brought her here. What's the matter with everyone? Why aren't you surprised? Maybe you better rest for a while. What? Hey. The girl was tugging at my sleeve. I turned to look at her. But the girl that I brought back was... What are you doing, dragging me here all of a sudden? Sarah? I looked back at everyone. This isn't right, I swear I saw her. We were walking here, hand in hand. It wasn't Sarah. Was that right, Sarah? No, I didn't see anybody else. The kid just suddenly grabbed my hand. What? Sarah, why are you lying? Huh? What are you talking about? You're the one that's lying. What? The girl that was in the whale room. She was sitting down hugging her knees. She was singing some kind of phrases to a kid's song. I'm telling you, that was me. Sarah was red-faced and shouting, "You don't have to tell everyone about it." Geez, what's with her? What's going on here? Oh my. You groaned as she slapped her forehead with her hand. Kid, just forget about everything else and get some rest. I'll bring you some dinner later. What's going on with this guy? I thought about a lot of things as I plodded back to the infirmary. Things leading to that point. Things to come. The odd things going on. Things I couldn't figure out. Things I needed to find out. Things I needed to decide. Everything I had been trying to avoid thinking about all rushed into my mind at once, making it a confused mess. I couldn't help thinking and worrying about things. About you. What if the man who died 34 years before wasn't his father? Then who was her real father? Was the woman who died 15 years before really Yu's mother? If not, then who was? About me. Why did I keep having premonitions of the future? What did it mean? Who was the girl? Why had I mistaken Sarah for her? Why had I even lost my memory in the first place? What had happened to me in my past? What did Tsugumi know about all this? And why were we all trapped in Limu? Was it all just an accident? Or something else? A few hours later, the installation started to flood again. Drite stock, from the petition to the cosmic whale, was submerged. Casualties, none. Flooding to other rooms, none. Chance of damage spreading, none. Sora's voice conveyed the situation over the intercom in a matter-of-fact tone. The cosmic whale room. I'd been there just until shortly before the flooding. But somehow it felt like some event that had taken place thousands of miles away. I covered my head with the blanket, closed my eyes and tried to sleep. I tried to search for the world I should be in, for the place I should return to, and for myself. Poor kid, he's losing it. The next thing I knew, I was standing there. The corridor I was in wasn't very popular. It was completely silent. It was narrow, dark, cold. Where is this? I wonder if I really was in Limu. Nothing looked familiar. It was like an unknown world. I just stood there in the middle of the foreign corridor. Wait, I knew that space. For some reason it seemed familiar to me. Like an image that appeared and hides in the midst, not quite visible. Or like the moon peeking in between gaps in a thick night fog. There was a corridor that stretched on forward. It seemed to go on forever in both directions. I started walking without really thinking about it. I've been here before. But when could that have been? It felt like something long ago, but at the same time, like something recent. I couldn't remember when. I just kept walking and to nowhere in particular. I have to go. But where was it that I felt I had to go? I didn't know why, but I felt I had to go. That's why I'm walking. In a soundless world. A colourless world. A scentless world. A world that didn't exist anywhere. And then the scenery suddenly changed. There we go. The cryogenic sleep machines. Yeah? Maybe? That's how time shifted like it did? I found myself in a big room. It was big and white and quiet. This looked like a hospital. That's what I thought. In the corner of the room were 3 capsule-like machines. As if they were calling to me, I approached the capsules. Someone was in the capsules. Someone in there sleeping. I reached out my right hand toward the capsule. My hand made contact. In that instant, without a sound, the lights went off. Huh? Startled, I tried to jump backward, but my right hand was stuck to the capsule and I couldn't pull it back. I looked back at the capsule. From the point where my hand touched the capsule's lid, a blackish, sticky liquid began seeping out. No, it was more dark blue than black. The capsule continued to ooze blackish blue and deep blue. I didn't know, and couldn't imagine what was going on. That's right, someone's inside. I have to open this and save them. But my body wouldn't move, I felt paralyzed. I stopped breathing and could only watch what was unfolding. Finally, that sticky blue liquid covered the entire capsule. But it didn't stop there, it kept going. To the floor, the walls, the ceiling, as if it would swallow the whole room. It was like a living animal with a will of its own, reproducing itself. The sticky blue liquid began to crawl up my body, up my legs and my hands, inside my clothes and between my legs. I couldn't shake it off or scream, I could only watch. After covering my body, it forced open my mouth and started into my body. It invaded me through my ears, nose and pores of my skin. In my body, the blue traveled around, reaching my brain, my lungs and my heart. It began eating away at my brain, my organs and blood vessels. The blue liquid sucked my blood and started changing its color to black. It was changing into something that wasn't me. Assaulted by boundless fear and horrible despair, I howled a soundless scream. My eyes snapped open. The next thing I knew, I was on a bed. It smelled of disinfectant. I wondered where I was. I was drenched in sweat. My heart was pounding. I had a dull headache. I lifted up my torso and glanced around me. The room was dim, but nothing seemed out of the ordinary. It was the scenery that I knew. Oh yeah, I'm back in the infirmary. I finally realized that I'd just been having a dream. I got my breath back and thought back to the dream. Let's see. It seemed so vivid only moments ago. What had seemed so vivid only moments ago seemed to vanish from my mind like clouds covering the night sky. All that was left was an unknown fear, a slight headache, and a fragment of a dream. I gave up and looked around me. The area was enveloped in a faint darkness. It wasn't a blackout. The lights had been dimmed to make it easier to sleep. The proof seemed to be the sleeping breathing that I could hear coming from the bed next to me. I thought it might be Sarah. Now wide awake, I got out of bed. I suddenly noticed something. There was someone lying face down next to my bed asleep. I squinted to see who it might be. It was you. I thought that she was going to be sore for sure after sleeping in that position. To at least keep her from catching a cold, I went to cover her with a blanket. Just then... Oh, kid, good morning. Oh, did I wake you up? No, I didn't mean to go to sleep. I guess I dozed off. Alright then. You shouted as she stood up. So, how you feeling? I feel perfectly fine. How could you? You've been hearing things, seeing things, and that's proof that your nerves are shot. I've been looking out for you every night, so I feel kind of responsible. It's not your fault. Well, that makes me feel a little better. Saying that, you shrugged his shoulders. I'm done with the bed, so you can sleep here, you. What about you? I slept enough this afternoon, I'm not tired. I see. You thought for a minute. In that case, will you hang out with me tonight? Sure. So we decided to hang out again that night, in what seemed to be becoming a nightly ritual. Are we going back to the ruins? Yep, the Lemurian Ruins. We climbed on top of the roof of one of the buildings and gazed out over the scenery. I actually didn't know why we decided to climb up on that particular night. But if I were to take a stab at the reason, it was probably because Lemuria was so beautiful then. For a while the two of us were silent, just enjoying the view. Finally, I started the conversation. Let's get to the bottom of things. To the bottom of what? Let's get to the truth about your past. About your father and mother. That and the truth about my past. About my lost memories and my ability to see the future. That and one more thing. The truth about all of our pasts. And why this accident happened. Why we were the only ones trapped here. Why we couldn't get out. I'm tired of dwelling on this. I mean, let's really figure things out tonight. Kid? You stared into the distance. I'm sorry, but can we forget about that today? Huh? Why? I just feel so tired. That wasn't the reason that I invited you here today. I wondered why we'd come here. Why do you get so caught up in knowing about the past of people? You can never take back what's happened in the past. All you can do is live in the moment, with what is happening to us right in this instant. We can't hop back and forth to our past or future. The future will come, but until that moment comes, the future is just like the dark. You can't see anything. You never know what might happen a minute from now. The future is scary, and that's why people look to the past. If you look back, everything is clearly illuminated, but the past is really the same. The further that you get away from the present, the darker it is, and the less you can see. To me, it seemed to lose your memory, like I had, made everything pitch black. No, rather things have become nothing. The only sphere that we can truly know is really tiny. Especially when it comes to time, we're essentially blind. That's why I just want to value this moment. The past and the future, I don't care about them anymore. I was left speechless. There was nothing I could be expected to say, because she was no longer focused on reflecting on her past. She was different from me. I alone was intent on knowing everything. I believed that I had to know or else. But you wasn't like that. The dragon had let the damsel free. There was no longer any need to vanquish it. I didn't know how much time had passed. There's nothing for us to do, so we just gave ourselves to the slowly passing time, even though there was no meaning in it. I didn't feel there was any reason for being there. I've had enough of this. I stood up quickly. So, should we get some sleep? Huh? What? What's wrong? I want to spend just a little more time with you. Huh? But there's nothing for us to do, is there? That was what I was about to say, but you said, there's something about being with you that relaxes me. I sat down again where I was. I figured that even if it was nothing to me, it might mean something to her. Hey, do you know what I'm thinking right now? I shook my head. Guess. How am I supposed to know? You traveled through time, right? You experienced all this before, right? In that case, you should know what I'm about to do. You don't believe in time travel, right? That's not what I'm saying. So guess. You repeated yourself. What? You're gonna do? Yeah, probably. What are you gonna do? I keep telling you to guess, right? You don't know? I don't know. What is it you're supposed to do at times like this? What? Use your other eye. My other eye? The third eye. Yep. When the third eye opens, true wisdom is apparent and all becomes visible. But how? You want me to teach you? Yeah. It was something I'd hoped for. If I could harness that power, then my past memory. First, do you know where the first eye is? I cocked my head, thinking. It's here. As she spoke, Yu's index finger approached my right eye. I closed it. The tip of Yu's finger touched my eyelid. And the second eye? Right here. Without giving me a second to think, Yu did the same thing to my left eye. And the third eye? That's right here. I felt something soft touch my lips. Startled, I opened my eyes. My mind went completely blank. I couldn't think of anything. The third eye? Had I found true wisdom? Had all things become visible to me? It was a lie. I felt more and more confused. Our character is such a fucking idiot. The scene in front of me, the soft touch of skin, the sweet smell that made my brain numb, it was all I could do to absorb these. That so-called third eye gave only the truth, warmth, confusion, and affection then. That night passed as I etched pure, slow, and new memories into my mind. May 6th. We're running out of time. The next morning, after breakfast, we all gathered in the conference room. More accurately, we gathered because Sora had called us together. Tsugumi also made a rare appearance. There's an important reason why I've called all of you here. There is something that I want to inform you about as soon as possible. I know it is difficult, but it is important for you to accurately realize the full gravity of the situation. Please don't panic. Settle down and listen carefully. Sora paused for a second. Sora looked at all 5 of us in turn. You, Tsugumi, Sara, Takeshi, and then me. Before continuing, the conference room was silent, but I could hear the sound of water faintly from somewhere. Was it water lapping in the corridors? Moments later, I couldn't hear it anymore. As if Sora was waiting for this cue, she slowly opened her mouth. The situation is not good. Sora extended her hand and a holographic window appeared in the space in front of us. I felt like I hadn't seen her do that for a while. Currently, there are no areas that show signs of new flooding. Since the flooding of the Cosmic Whale area in Drute's stock last night, there have been no further reports of significant damage. The burden being placed on Lemu's support columns has increased due to the flooding. The structural distortion between floors is increasing. If this continues, Lemu will eventually lose its equilibrium and tilt dramatically. If the damage to the areas connecting the floors of different sectors increase, there is a possibility that pipe leaks could flood the dry sectors. In other words, we can't afford to be careless, things are critical. I think that I told you this before. Implosion of Lemu is estimated to occur at 4:30 AM, May 7th. This calculation has a margin of error of plus or minus 12 hours. There's been no significant change in this prediction. In one area, the strength limits of partitions have already been exceeded. Destruction of Lemu will be gradual, but inevitable, and occur steadily. It's only a matter of time. Sora told us all this with a calm look on her face. We all swallowed and held our breath as we listened. We knew we were reaching our time limit. We had no choice but to accept that reality. There was no avoiding the situation. Presently, the generator facilities are functioning normally. However, if by chance there is a blackout, we will switch the emergency power source battery. This is generally meant for supporting the emergency lighting and maintenance on Lemu's system. It should last for about 2 hours. Sora's matter-of-fact way of speaking only raised the tension in our minds for Takeshi and Sara and Tsugumi, and for you. I cannot get the image of you burned into my brain the night before out of my mind. I still felt as if our lips were touching. From the morning, you and I had avoided one another's eyes. I wasn't sure if we'd even exchange words. You looked straight ahead. I was more conscious of you than of anything else. I didn't know how I should act around you from then on, but I had other things to worry about. I listened to the conversation. The normal communication channels are still not functioning. Neither have I found an escape route. However, we have made protecting you my top priority, and MMIH is devoting all its resources to that objective. I am also using all sensors, lights, manipulators, and means at my disposal outside of the complex. And I am still investigating whether there are means of communicating with the outside using light, radio, or sound. Sora nodded her head, straightened her back, and surveyed the room. We were all silent. There was a look of determination in her eyes. Let me say one thing more. That as long as I, Sora Akanagasaki, exist, and while my powers are limited, as long as you are here, I will do my utmost to find a way for you to escape to safety. We do not have much longer together, but I, Sora Akanagasaki, am at your service. She concluded with a serious nod. We all nodded. We must wait, and believe that help is on its way. Sora's serious expression gave way to a smile. Everyone, let's pray for a safe rescue. The gloomy atmosphere that had been hanging over the gathering lightened, and everyone started thinking about how they should spend their time. Sora's smile instilled everyone with courage. I was grateful for that piece of code in Sora's AI program, the function that allowed her to be calm in times of trouble. She's an AI, it should be easy. Now let's end this meeting. Until there is new information available, please do what you will. However, if you do discover anything, please inform me immediately via MMIH. Excuse me, Sora? Yes, Tsugumi. Tsugumi suddenly stood in front of Sora. His smile seemed just a little forced. There is something I want to talk to you about, alone. In private? Yes, please. Actually, I have a proposal, an idea of how to escape from here. Yes, really? Have you come up with a good method? Yeah, one that you don't know. Only I know about. I heard from Sarah that your operating priorities have been changed. That you're not as stubborn about protecting Lieblich as before. Yes, and what about it? Maybe you can work with me now. Huh? Hey, Tsugumi, hold on. Sora's... You be quiet. Tsugumi held up her hand as if silencing Takeshi. I want to talk with Sora alone. Surely you don't mind? Of course. Then we'll speak in the central control room. Alright, let's go then. With serious looks on their faces, the two of them headed out of the room. Hey, wait you two, what about us? If it's important, then we should talk about it here. Tsugumi glared back at Takeshi. Her eyes were like ice. I told you to be quiet. She turned her back on Takeshi again, and the two of them left the conference room. The room suddenly fell silent. Jeez, what's that all about? The hokey pokey? Those of us on the left stared at the hologram in the conference room and settled down to plotting a strategy to save ourselves. The four of us, you, Sada, Takeshi and I, gathered around a table. We reviewed the facts as we knew them. There were two ways to get to the surface from Lemur. Use the elevator in the central area, climb one of the complex's 12 sets of emergency stairs. The central area floor was completely flooded. We couldn't be certain that it would move. We still didn't know the cause of that either. The emergency stairs were also filled with water from the second floor, so they were impassable. Right now there was only one method that could be used to remove the floodwater. That was to use the high pressure fan to pump the complex full of high pressure gases and fugitive seawater. But at that moment, we weren't able to operate the fan from inside Lemur. And like the elevators, we still had no idea why. If we couldn't start it from the inside, then it could be started from the outside. But all communication channels to the outside have been cut off, and surely someone out there would have thought of that, and swimming our way to freedom was out of the question. The water pressure and other problems made that suicidal. And if we couldn't find a way out on our own, we would have to rely on rescue efforts from the outside. But that was something we couldn't depend on. We hadn't been able to communicate with the outside for 5 days since we'd been trapped, and there were no signs help was coming. So we knew we had to exclude a miracle rescue from our options. No, from the beginning. We'd reconciled ourselves with the facts of our situation long before. We figured that since there'd been no contact or rescue, not even the slightest sign, that maybe there was a reason that people couldn't get near Lemur, or maybe someone had intentionally sealed us in. Maybe someone had... oh yeah. So we came up with 3 steps we should focus on. A. Restoring communications with the outside, but this was only relevant if the people on the outside were willing to cooperate. B. Find another way to drain the water from the complex other than the high pressure fan. But according to Sora, there was no other way to do this. C. Fix the fan. C. Find an escape route other than the elevator or emergency stairs, like maybe a submarine. But according to Sora's information, there was no longer any left on Lemur. She had said that they'd all been used during the evacuation on May 1st. Final conclusion. Current prognosis for escape, hopeless. But there was one thing. Tsugimi had said that there was an escape method that only she knew about. If it did in fact exist, and there was a way that all 6 of us could escape, then that would be our only hope. Alright, we need to wrap this one up because we're out of time again. Looks like we're not at the end quite yet, but we've got about a day left, give or take, before the whole place implodes and we all get crushed and drown and die. Yay! I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next one.